Well, good morning. Welcome to Faith Without Religion. So today you witnessed firsthand the proverbial technical glitch. Nothing less exciting than when you press the button to start your video and the computer tells you that the camera is in fact no longer attached. So we solved that issue, and here we are for a brief chat today. So today we're just going to actually switch gears just for the day, and I want to read to you from Sarah Young's book, Jesus Calling. We've done one or two of these recently, but this is a particularly interesting one, at least for myself. So maybe there's something in this message that will benefit you today. So here's what it says. The title is Growing Strong in Your Weakness. And I've definitely identified a few weaknesses in recent days. Grow strong in your weakness. Some of my children I've gifted with abundant strength and stamina. Others, like you, have received the humble gift of frailty. Your fragility is not a punishment, nor does it indicate a lack of faith. On the contrary, weak ones like you must live by faith, depending on me to get you through the day. I am developing your ability to trust me, to lean on me rather than on your own understanding. Your natural preference is to plan out your day, knowing what will happen and when. My preference is for you to depend on me continually, trusting me to guide you and strengthen you as needed. This is how you grow strong in your weakness. It just really touched me, this particular message, because he did say that there are some of my children that I've gifted with abundant strength and stamina. And I always liked to think that I was among that number of children, although I've realized in recent times that that's not necessarily the case, even if it starts out that way. That sometimes you have to enter into your own weakness to realize where your strengths really are, because that admonition to lean not on your own understanding is so powerful, but only so when you have the epiphany that you are leaning on your own understanding. And so what's the best way to get away from this concept of leaning on your own understanding? It is to continually to confront yourself and feed yourself on God's living word. Because when you absorb that on a daily basis, or even more frequently throughout the day, then you realize that you're leaning on God's understanding, on his wisdom, on his power and strength, because you really don't have any. It's an illusion that we create for ourselves in the world that we live in. So it's really important. Now, in recent days, we've been revisiting a hero of mine, if we can call him that. Someone that my wife and I discovered some news about many years ago. It's a gentleman by the name of George Mueller. If you look at it, it looks like it should say Muller, because it's M-U-L-L-E-R, but it does have the, I think it's called an umlaut over the U, which slightly changes the pronunciation. But as you probably guessed, George was born in Germany, but then his family moved him over to England, and he lived over there in the early 19th century. And I'm going to tell you, if you want to see examples of living by faith, just get hold of information on George Mueller. You will be astonished. There's somebody who did nothing other than to lean on the power of the living God. Even to the extent when he had a need, could be for a certain amount of money, because he very often was caring for large numbers of orphans that were dependent on him to feed them every day. and through him dependent on the Lord. So what did he do? Did he pick up the phone and tell everybody, hey, we're running out of food? No, didn't have phones at that particular time. Did he send letters around? No. He must have told friends, families and acquaintances. No. He wouldn't even tell anybody. All he would do was shut himself in his room and pray. And he would pray and he would pray until the situation resolved itself. And the stories of how these situations resolved themselves are so astonishing that it's a struggle for the normal human mind to perceive that they could be real. Most people's initial reaction would be, it can't possibly have happened like that. But there's enough evidence and enough reports to confirm that it did happen like that. So when you run out of food to feed the orphans and you don't tell anyone and you pray, you cannot then be surprised when there's a knock on the door and here stands the baker from the nearby village armed with loaves of bread and cakes and muffins and whatever else, who says, I woke up this morning and the Lord put it on my heart that these children that you care for would need some food. And he hands it over. And while they're having that conversation, the milk delivery truck breaks down right outside. And the orphans all come out to help the guy and he says, well, can't deliver my milk now and it's going to spoil. Why don't you folks take all of it? It's just astonishing. So, like I said, George could have rallied the troops, went round and connected himself with everyone he possibly could, start begging for food. All that amounts to leaning on your own understanding. So he didn't do any of it. He just prayed and he waited and he prayed and he waited. And in God's perfect timing, the situation was solved. But this doesn't happen once in his life or twice or 3 or 4, 5, 6 times. It would happen every single day, almost without exception. Not necessarily for everything that he prayed about. Sometimes he'd pray about the same thing and it would take a decade before that prayer was answered. But he never stopped praying until he got the breakthrough. It's just very exciting and very encouraging for all of us. And we really deserve to get reconnected to the truth about the power of prayer. There is nothing so sacred as your personal interaction with your Creator, with the living God. And through his living word, he is going to mold you into exactly what he created you for and called you to be. So just encourage you to lean into that relationship, lean in and lean on his understanding, and your life is going to look entirely different. Well, have a blessed day. We'll see you back here again tomorrow.